Have you with us in our first story. The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is asking Ghanaians to brace themselves for a possible doubling of fuel prices if the tensions between US and Iran escalate in the next few days. We'll bring you that story shortly. But today is Tuesday, 7th January, and Ghanaians are commemorating the birth of the Fourth Republic, the collective commitments to a regime of uninterrupted constitutional order. The 1992 Constitution of Ghana, which ushered in the Fourth Republic dispensation, turns 27 years today. Now, I've been engaging some students of the Accra Technical University on the purpose of today's holiday, Constitution Day. It was on the 7th of January 1993 that we decided to put the Constitution in power with the swearing in of the new president. Today, we celebrate Constitution Day in exactly 24 hours. So we've come to the campus of Accra Technical University to ask the students what they think about Constitution Day and what they know about the Constitution. My friends here are studying, so we'll try and keep this as short as possible. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So what do you know about the Constitution?
Actually, what I know about the Constitution is a set of rules, or I don't know what to say, set of rules used to govern a country or something.
Great. How about you? What have you heard about it?
Well, like just as he said, is the rules and regulations for governing a country.
Do you think it's important?
Oh yes, without it we can't have freedom and peace in the country.
So do you know any rights that the Constitution gives you?
Yeah, I have the right to vote, and I think it's passed.
Have you voted before?
Yes, I've voted before.
Really? Hey, you look like you're underage. Anyway, let me ask you, what do you know about the Constitution?
I know it's a set of rules for governing a country. It allows us to get our rights and our freedom to do whatever we like in a country as we are in the democratic world.
That sounds good. So tell me, if we did not have the Constitution, what do you think will be in Ghana now?
Chaos. Chaos and chaos. Because, you know, with the Constitution, it set the rules where your right begins is where somebody's rights end. So with the Constitution, it gives the fundamental lay down of everybody's right. You know where your right begins, where your right ends. So where your right ends is where somebody's right begins. So I think it is a laudable idea, and I will support Constitution every day.
So which rights do you enjoy now that the Constitution has given you?
Freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of joint association, and I'm enjoying almost everything that comes with it.
That's great. But let me ask, tomorrow is Constitution Day, and because of that, no one will work, at least if you're not in an essential service. How important do you guys think it is for us to have a holiday set aside to remember the Constitution? Let me start with my man here.
Oh, okay. It is very cool because we are going to use tomorrow as a day to remember everything. You see, to even educate the children, you see, through television shows and what have you, so that the children will get to know what our Constitution entails, so that they can be able to fight for their right or in the nearby future or something like that. So it's very crucial for the government to take a time like that to celebrate our Constitution. So I think it's very important.
Some would say that we should rather use the time to work hard so that the country prospers more. What do you think?
Well, I know of this statement that all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. So I don't think it's bad thing about it. So I think if that day is set for us, I think it's a good, like doing revision for exam. I think it's good. It's good for the government to do that.
It looks like someone doesn't want to go for lectures tomorrow. What do you think? Do you think the Constitution Day holiday is important?
Yeah, it's very important because as a human being, you can't be working at any time, which makes you down. You have to get some time to entertain, to refresh yourself. And with that, it even improves your mental faculty. You see, that is it.
So you agree that the holiday improves your mental faculty?
No, I don't agree. I don't even see the essence of the holiday, to be sincere, because if you are saying that it's Constitutional Day, so holiday, I still don't get why is it Constitutional Day should be a holiday.
So what would you rather we would do to mark the starting of our Constitution?
Starting of our Constitution?
Yeah, or the establishment of the Constitution. If we wanted to mark it in a way, how would you rather we marked it?
I remember that there's a Constitution. Yeah. And as long as we are living, everyone knows that there's a Constitution, so there's no need to mark it.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Interesting. So he feels it doesn't really matter. What do you think?
I don't think it matters at all. we can remember our constitution every day. We shouldn't set aside a day to remember our constitution. I don't think it is necessary. I don't think it is important. It is a waste of time. That day could have been used for another purpose. We can remember our constitution every day. We shouldn't set aside to remember our constitution, which means the thing should begin from the day one, from the kindergarten. Let's instill it in our educational system. Let's kids know this is what the constitution stands for. This is what it's meant for this country. But setting aside a day, and they'll just go speech without nothing, I don't think it is important to me. I don't think it is relevant at all.
So there's no debate about the importance of the Constitution, and it looks like the education about our rights and freedoms is fairly balanced. But whether or not the day should be set aside as a holiday, the jury is still out on this one. For Joy News, Daniel Daze, NATU Campus. And we're back in studio with my colleague Malik Abbas Dabo. We had to discuss a bit about what we know and what we don't know about the Constitution and how important that is. Now, Malik, we just came off set out of the studio of the Super Morning Show, and some interesting education there. So what happens, for instance, when you're driving a car?
Absolutely. And when I listen to you talk to these students who are in school, what their understanding of the Constitution and what basically is the Constitution, I think the majority of them were absolutely right in what they think the Constitution is basically the basic law of the country. The basic law of the country that delineates power to all the actors in the state. So, for example, everybody who plays an important role in the state draws their power from the Constitution. It is the Constitution that tells you who the arms of government are, who the executive are, who the legislature is, who the judiciary is, and the powers of each of them, and the roles and responsibilities of all the people, the conditions under which they work. And we, the citizens, too, the responsibilities we have, the duties that we have, and of course, more importantly, the rights that we have as citizens, as captured in chapter 5. So you read chapter 5 to tell you, as citizens, these are the rights that you have. You have a right to life, you have a right to not have your communication interfered with, you have a right to not be entertained or arrested or detained unduly without being told what your rights are. All of that are detailed in that law. So when you drive your car and the police stop you, they only stop you because the Constitution mandates them, gives them power to do so. Without that, they don't have any power. If they arrest you and they take you to court, whatever that will happen is because the Constitution says that these are the steps to take. So the Constitution says if you arrest somebody, that no person shall be detained or deprived of their liberty without such and such rules. So the law will say if they arrest you, if they are coming to arrest you or any other person, the law requires that they should tell the person that first of all they are being arrested, that you are under arrest. So that's why when you watch movies, the police will tell you you are under arrest. And then after they have told you that you are under arrest, they will tell you the reasons why you are under arrest. And then tell you that you are entitled to a lawyer of your choosing. And that you have a right to remain silent because whatever you say can and shall be used against you in a court of law.
Or they say the Miranda rights.
All of those things that we hear and see in the movies are in the Constitution, are in the law, which is the basic law of the Constitution, which is the law that guides all of us. That without that law, this place will be a jungle. Not too long ago, Martin Pebu went to court saying that the Constitution says that when a person is arrested within 48 hours, the person must be produced before a court of law, and the person can apply for bail, and the court, an impartial judge, will make a determination whether there is merit in the person's application. We do know that this was a law which was being violated willy-nilly by the police, and sometimes when they want to show you where power lies, they will pick you up on Friday evening. When Monday is a holiday, they know that you are going to stay there for days because they will say the courts aren't sitting. And he went to court and said, this Constitution does not make a distinction between holidays and weekends and all of that. Therefore, the practice where they pick you up, go and lock you up and detain you until a day when the courts are sitting is in violation of the people's liberties. The court agreed, and this is the highest court of the land, agreed with him and says that the people's rights cannot be abused.
Right.
So I mean, the Constitution is an absolutely important document because all the rights that we enjoy as citizens are drawn from the Constitution.
Now, that was the last case that Justice Sophia Kufu presided over as Chief Justice.
As Chief Justice,
yes. And the question again is raised that not just in that case, with a number of cases, when the Constitution speaks or has made a definite statement about something, there is a gap between what is on the paper and what is on the ground. You've been practicing journalism for so many years. Are there any examples of when that gap has come up where it's been difficult to implement that law in Ghana?
No, there is practical reality. The practical reality is that the Constitution is an aspirational document. It reflects the best things that we want to see about ourselves. But there are practical limitations as what infrastructure we have to be able to enjoy the rights as granted us by the Constitution. So the example you picked up, and Raymond, our colleague, and I were having a conversation, and he says that, well, he comes from Mankesim. If you were to be arrested on, say, the day before Christmas, or that's 24th, and you were detained, he didn't think that there's any court or any district court in Mankesim that is going to sit and hear your case and adjudicate it and determine whether you should enjoy your rights to not be detained beyond the 48 hours as required by the Constitution. So the Supreme Court has made a pronouncement affirming what the Constitution says, but there are practical limitations that may make the enjoyment of this right a difficulty. But the law requires that the state will make the needed investment to ensure that people will enjoy these rights. So the Constitution will say that the dignity of all persons shall be inviolable, that you can't pick somebody and detain the person without giving them their right to be heard.
Now, we've been on social media, we've been asking you if you think that the Constitution has served its purpose 27 years after it was accepted as the holy grail when it comes to laws in the country. And let's take some of your responses now. A number of them, the Inshuraba priesthood says to a large extent, yes, for the mere imperative fact that it finally arrested the perennial riots of violence which de facto had taken dominance over our political discourse. While admitting this success, it's also inescapable that it has not achieved holistically what we aspire to reach by acceding to those underlying principles. I'm sure that's what you want to say. More so, injustice, which the Fourth Republic Constitution upholds aggressively, is still on the rise. Surprisingly, there's still room for improvements. We'll take a few more. Hashtag open legal education is how he entered. Jedua Isaac says, in fact, the 1992 Constitution has done a great work, but I believe it needs review. Most importantly, the Constitution has virtually made the president a dictator to the extent that all top key officials are appointed by the president. These officials owe allegiance to no one with the exception of the president. I believe limited powers should be given to the president rather than what we are seeing today. Before we go on with the rest of the comments, Malik, I want a quick comment on this one because we had the opportunity to make a great change in how the Constitution structures how Ghana is governed with the December 17 referendum. That did not happen. That amendment of Article 55(3) and the other related articles which would have been done by Parliament. Something we missed an opportunity.
You're absolutely right, because we run a decentralized governance system where you have districts which are supposed to be autonomous, but the Constitution says that the Constitution in 243 requires that the president shall appoint the metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives. And to the extent that the president appoints them, they remain loyal to the president and sometimes the governing party. All major parties have over the years consistently argued that we should make that position an elective position. Elective to the extent that if the mayor of Accra was not appointed by the president but elected by the people, if all the metropolitan and municipalities in the regions were elected, you would have some of them elected on the basis of political parties which are not in government. So, for example, if we were to go to the polls next year and were to elect all the MMDCEs, I can tell you that 99% of the people who will be elected in the Volta region would all be NDC. That will happen in Upper West, Upper East, Northern region, many other regions.
And the story will change in the Ashanti region.
Absolutely, the story will change in the Ashanti region. So you will have a situation where even though the president and his ministers are of MPP stock, the majority or a large number of MMDCEs across many regions are of NDC stock. In that case, you do not have a winner takes all. Everybody plays a part in governing. So the president no longer have that power to appoint all these people with them being loyal to him, which is the reason why we needed to amend the constitution to do that. But the amendment of Article 243 was also tied to 55.3, which will say that currently by the law, by the constitution in 55.3, elections to local assemblies is non-partisan. The sponsor of the bill, the president, wanted that change so that would be partisan. And there was a no campaign against the referendum, and therefore the president asked that the minister should withdraw the bills. So that has been cancelled now. So we no longer have the opportunity to go to the polls and elect these MMDCAs. We are stuck with what the status quo is, which is the president will appoint them.
So that's December 17 referendum that never was, actually gives you a picture of how relevant the constitution itself is, because this was an entrenched clause in there that affects how that MMDCE serving you in your locality should be selected.